Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles. I stood frozen in the middle of the kitchen, my hands still wet from washing the dinner dishes. The clink of Christina's wine glass against the counter snapped me out of my daze, but only just. She was standing across from me like a stranger, no worse, like an opponent. "If you file for divorce," she said, swirling her wine lazily, "I'll leave you without a penny." I blinked at her, trying to process what she had just said. Her tone wasn't emotional. There were no tears, no regret, no shame, just steel and a little smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. "You'll have to pay not only for the divorce itself," she continued, eyes narrowing with something between amusement and disdain, "but also alimony to me and child support. And don't even think about custody," she laughed, sharp and bitter. "You'll lose." My fists clenched at my sides. I wanted to scream, to grab something and throw it just to make the storm inside me visible somehow. But I didn't move. I couldn't. The walls around me, the ones I had painted with my own hands, felt like they were closing in. This kitchen, our kitchen, had been a place of warmth once. Birthday candles, pancakes on Sundays, Awila and Sam drawing on the floor while Christina made coffee. Now it felt like a courtroom, cold, accusing. "You seriously think I managed," my voice low and shaking with restrained fury, "that I'm going to just sit here and support you while you play house with some other guy?" She shrugged, sipped her wine. "You have no other choice, Keith. No other choice." Like everything I had worked for meant nothing. Like the late nights, the second job, the years I poured into our family were just her stepping stones. There are moments in life when reality hits you so hard it knocks the air right out of your lungs. This was one of those moments. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was stunned, staggered, and angry in a way I didn't know I could be. 11 years, 2 kids, a home I built, a life I thought we were building together. I gave up my 20s for this woman. I missed trips with friends, skipped out on things I loved, worked myself raw just to keep things going. And now, she was standing in front of me, glass in one hand, venom in her voice, telling me without flinching that she expected me to finance her affair. "I'll continue having fun with my lover," Christina said casually, swirling the wine in her glass like she was talking about brunch plans and not obliterating our marriage, "and you'll keep paying for everything." That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just stared at her, steady and silent for a few seconds before I said, "Do you really think I'll tolerate and support you in that kind of lifestyle?" She didn't even blink. Instead, she laughed. That laugh. God, that laugh wasn't just cruel. It was arrogant, like she thought she had already won. Like I was just some background character in her drama. "You have no other choice," she said, lifting her glass toward me with a smug smile. And that was when everything inside me shifted, but not in the way she expected. I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel like a victim. I felt something new, sharp, cold, clear. I didn't beg. I didn't threaten. I didn't even shout. I just looked her straight in the eye and said, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." She paused just for a second. I saw the flicker in her eyes, but then she shook it off, tossed back another sip of wine, and turned away like she was done with the conversation. But I wasn't. That was the moment I knew exactly what I had to do. The moment Christina laughed in my face. Something flipped. I wasn't her husband anymore. Not the man she thought she could manipulate. Not the man who bent over backward just to keep things together. That version of me was gone. No more playing the nice guy. No more sacrificing my self-respect to maintain a facade. From now on, everything I did would be strategic, controlled, purposeful. If she wanted war, she'd get one, but not the kind she could dance through with a smirk and a glass of red. I was going to give her a war she'd never recover from. But first, I had to be smart. So that night, I didn't storm out. I didn't sleep on the couch. I didn't even scowl. I tucked the kids into bed like I always did, kissed Leia on the forehead, helped Sam find his favorite stuffed bear. I came back downstairs, sat across from Christina, and ate dinner like everything was normal. I even smiled, asked her if she wanted the last piece of garlic bread. She blinked at me like I'd grown another head. Good. Confusion was step one. She was expecting fireworks, yelling, maybe a slammed door or a broken plate. But I wasn't going to give her that. That would give her power. No, I was going to let her wonder, let her stew, let her start to question what I was thinking, because inside I was already 10 moves ahead. The next morning I walked into my office like it was any other Tuesday. I sent the kids off to school with Christina, kissed them goodbye, and then sat down at my laptop with a calm I didn't feel the night before. I opened an incognito window, found the name I'd memorized weeks ago, and made the call to the most successful divorce lawyer in town. "Morning, Keith." The receptionist said after I was transferred, "Mr. Alden will see you at 1:30. Bring anything you think might be relevant." By noon, I'd withdrawn the consultation fee in cash. No paper trail, no credit card statements for Christina to snoop through. I drove across town, took the back entrance to the law office, and walked into the conference room like a man who already knew how this ended. Mr. Alden didn't waste time. "Tell me everything," he said. And I did. The affair, the threats, her smug little speech in our kitchen, the part where she told me I had no choice. He leaned back in his chair, laced his fingers together, and smiled like he'd heard it all before. Because he had. "You're not the first guy to sit in this chair," he said calmly. "And she's not the first woman who thought she'd win by default." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a printed checklist. "Here's what you're going to do," he said, sliding it across the desk. "First, open a separate bank account quietly. Second, secure all your documents, pay stubs, tax returns, insurance, mortgage statements, everything. Third, custody prep. Start journaling, record everything. You do that and I'll do the rest." That night, Christina lay in bed next to me, scrolling through Instagram, laughing softly at whatever her lover had sent her. She didn't notice me leave the room. She didn't ask where I was going. In the office downstairs, I was hunched over our filing cabinet, scanning every document I could get, my hands on mortgage papers, insurance policies, retirement statements, her last 2 raised notifications from work. I was quiet, methodical, invisible. She didn't even look up when I came back to bed, and that was her second mistake. It was a Thursday evening, quiet, unremarkable. The kids were at my sister's for the night, and Christina was curled up on the couch, half watching a reality show, fully absorbed in her phone. Her thumb moved in quick flicks, a small smirk curling her lip now and then. I didn't need to guess who she was texting. I'd been waiting for the right moment, and this was it. I walked in holding a small stack of papers, neatly stapled, all ready, prepped. I'd rehearsed what I was going to say more times than I could count. "Hey," I said casually, holding out the top page. "Got something here from the mortgage company. Just a quick acknowledgement thing. Standard paperwork. They need both our signatures for some refinance verification." She didn't even look up. "H?" she murmured, fingers flying across her screen. Her laugh was soft, breathy. She was texting him. I knew it. I held the pen out. "Just sign the bottom. It's nothing. Won't take 2 seconds. Still not looking. Still texting." Sure," she said, distracted. Her hand reached out absently. She didn't even read the top line. Just signed. I kept my face neutral, calm. "Thanks," I said, taking the paper back with the slightest nod. "Appreciate it," she hummed in response, not even registering the significance. She was already deep in her next message. I could see the glow of a hotel reservation confirmation on her screen reflected in her glasses, and that was that. She went, back to planning her next night with him. I walked upstairs with a signed, notarized document relinquishing her claim to the house. She never knew what she'd given up until it was already gone. And honestly, it was the easiest signature I ever collected. and that was her third mistake. For the next few weeks, I said nothing. I smiled, I cooked, I helped with homework, I played the perfect husband. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was building a case that could crack granite. Security cameras installed inside and outside the house. Motion activated, full audio. She thought they were part of our old system. I upgraded the software and set up private cloud storage only I could access. Every time we spoke, I activated a recording app on my phone. If she so much as muttered about the kids, about money, about him, I had it. I started a digital journal, time-stamped, annotated, categorized. Her arrogance made her blind. She never noticed. One evening, while she was out for another one of her work dinners, I checked the GPS tracker I'd placed under her car. She wasn't at dinner. She was parked outside a cheap hotel on the edge of town. I waited. 2 hours later, I got the alert. Her car moved. I drove by, parked across the street. From inside the car, I took pictures. Her walking out with her boss, his arm around her waist, him kissing her neck before they got into separate cars. He was married, 2 kids. I'd seen the family portraits online. I drove home, sat down, and synced everything to my hard drive. Screenshots from our shared iCloud account. She never logged out. Her messages, her selfies in that same hotel room. One she sent him with the caption "Round 2. She thought she was untouchable, a queen. But I was about to dethrone her in the most brutal way. Christina was drifting further every day. She barely looked up from her phone anymore. Missed bedtime stories, skipped out on school events with flimsy excuses like, "I've got a headache" or "work emergency." The kids were too young to understand why mommy wasn't showing up, but they noticed. So I made sure I was there. Every recital, every soccer match, every meeting at school, I was front row, smiling, clapping, present. I wasn't doing it just for the court. I was doing it because someone had to show up for them, someone had to be the adult. But I documented it all. Sorry, I can't make a text from her. Every voicemail from the school when she forgot a parent-teacher conference. I saved every calendar reminder she missed and recorded the moments when the kids asked for her with tear-streaked cheeks. "Where's Mommy?" Laya would ask me at bedtime, clutching her stuffed owl. "She's out, baby," I'd say, brushing her hair back, gently. "But I'm right here." I always was. 6 weeks passed. 6 long, quiet, calculated weeks. Christina thought I was finally adjusting. She thought my silence meant surrender. One night, as she touched up her makeup in the mirror before heading out, she smirked and said, "You know, you're finally being mature about this. I guess you're accepting that this is just how life is now." I looked up from the book I was reading, met her gaze in the mirror, and smiled. "Sure, Christina, whatever you say." She actually leaned down and kissed my cheek like we were still friends, like I wasn't quietly planning the fall of her entire delusional empire. She grabbed her clutch and slipped on her heels. "Going for drinks with the girls," she said as casually as she used to say, picking up milk. I waved from the porch, watching her strut down the driveway like she was invincible. But what she didn't know was that the divorce papers were already printed, signed and ready to go. What she didn't know was that her lover's wife had finally read the messages I'd sent anonymously. Screenshots, videos, locations, dates. She didn't know that hell had already started. Because revenge isn't rage. It's not shouting or slamming doors. No, the best revenge is quiet, surgical. It's patient. It doesn't announce itself. It waits while your enemy keeps digging their own grave. That's what I did. I watched Christina build her fantasy life, brick by brick, completely unaware that the foundation beneath it had already cracked wide open. And then came the morning. The sun was shining. It was a Tuesday. The kids had just left for school, and Christina sat at the dining table with her favorite mug, something tacky and gold-lettered that said, "Boss Babe." She scrolled her phone lazily, legs tucked under her, humming to some song I didn't recognize. She didn't have a care in the world until a knock at the door changed everything. I stood behind the curtain, coffee in hand, watching it unfold like the opening act of a play I'd already memorized. The knock was polite, almost too polite. "Christina Adams," the process server asked, holding the envelope delicately like it was just another delivery. "Yes," she replied, half distracted, phone still in her hand. The moment the documents changed hands, I saw it. The flicker. That instant, her smile collapsed, and her whole face recalibrated into disbelief. She didn't even have time to close the door before I walked out of the kitchen. "Surprise," I said, sipping calmly. Her eyes darted from the paperwork to me, then back to the top page again, fingers trembling. "You're divorcing me?" I nodded. "Based on adultery, neglect, and emotional abuse." "Should be an easy case," she scoffed. That sharp, haughty scoff she always used when she was cornered and desperate to sound unbothered. "You won't get away with this," she hissed. "You'll still be paying me alimony. I'll get the kids, please." I smiled gently and held up the flash drive I'd been carrying in my pocket for weeks. "Not with what's on here. You won't even get my to manure your plants." She didn't say another word, just stood there, silent and pale, trying to flip through the documents as if she'd find a loophole that could undo what she'd already done. 3 days later, things got worse for her. Her lover's wife, Karen, found my number. I'd never met the woman, but she sounded calm. Too calm. We met at a cafe off the interstate, neutral territory. She wore sunglasses the entire time and didn't flinch once when I laid it all out. GPS logs, synced messages, photos, hotel check-ins, even the receipts from dinner dates they charged to their company account. Karen studied each file like a war general surveying the battlefield. Then she looked up at me and said, "Thank you. Now I know how deep it runs." She stood, buttoned. "Her coat. I'll handle my end." That evening, while Christina thought she was safely tucked away in her office, Karen stormed in, heels clicking like gunshots. She walked straight up to Christina's desk and dropped a manila folder onto it. Alienation of affection law. Her coworkers stared as Christina's mouth dropped open, scrambling to close her laptop, hide whatever chats were open. But Karen wasn't done. Not by a long shot. "I just want everyone to know," she announced to the entire office loud and clear, "that Christina Adams has been sleeping with my husband for months on company time using company credit cards. You all might want to loop in HR." She turned on her heel and walked out with grace. Only fury can fuel her soon-to-be ex-suspended pending internal ethics review. The whispers started immediately. Christina was humiliated publicly, but that was just Act 1. What she didn't know, couldn't know, was that 2 weeks earlier I'd quietly restructured everything. All the assets moved under trusts and accounts with only my name. Bank accounts separated, new ones opened, passwords changed, her name gone. Joint credit cards closed the moment I filed. Her car lease canceled. I was the primary signer. Insurance. She was removed from my health plan the minute she was served legally, efficiently. Her salon appointment was the first of bouts. Then her grocery run. The call started soon after. "You're cutting me off?" she screamed into the phone, voice shrill with disbelief. "I'm protecting myself legally. My lawyer advised it. You can't just..." "Well, I just did. You can speak to your lawyer about this." Then I hung up. No anger, no yelling, just a quiet click of finality. She thought she'd ruined me. Thought she'd reduced me to some broken fool, watching her live her best life. But while she'd been busy setting fire to our marriage, I'd been rebuilding quietly, carefully, relentlessly. She had no idea I had rebuilt everything behind her back. The morning of the first hearing, I arrived 15 minutes early. I always do. Mr. Alden was already there, flipping through the file one last time with his signature calm, navy suit, silver cufflinks, voice like a scalpel, clean and deliberate. The man didn't waste words or time. That's why I hired him. He glanced up when I sat beside him. "You ready for this?" he asked. "I've been ready," I said, my voice steady, my hands still. Then she walked in, Christina designer heels clicking across the floor like she was entering a brunch spot, not a custody hearing. She wore a silk blouse, probably one of the last things she charged before I froze the joint cards. Her makeup was flawless, her smirk even more polished. She sat across from me and crossed her legs, tossing a little grin like this was all beneath her. But it didn't take long for that grin to fade. Mr. Alden stood. "Your Honor," he began, voice low and measured. "We'd like to present evidence of parental neglect, emotional abandonment, and willful misconduct." He handed over a thick binder, neatly tabbed, color-coded. I'd seen that binder grow over the past 6 weeks. Every page had a purpose. He walked the judge through it, step by quiet, devastating step. Attendance records from school events, my signature there, hers missing, emails from teachers, texts from our sitter, screenshots of nights when the kids cried for their mother, and I was the only one there to hold them. Security cam footage from our front porch, Christina stumbling in at 2:17 a.m., 3:41 a.m., 1:56 a.m., week after week, time-stamped, crystal clear. Then came the messages between her and her affair partner, the ones where she called me the dead weight, the ones where they joked about my boring dad energy, the ones where she asked if he was ready to get rid of the baggage. The courtroom was silent. Then Mr. Alden pulled out his last card, an audio file. Her voice crackled through the speaker, laughing. "I'm not giving up sex with you just to play mom all the time." I'd lose my mind. I didn't look at her. I didn't need to. I could feel the shift. Her posture wilted, her hands clenched. Her lawyer leaned over, whispering something that sounded a lot like panic. The judge looked up. He didn't ask many questions. "There's no ambiguity here," he said. "Primary custody goes to the father. Visitation schedule to be determined, pending further evaluation." Just like that, Christina blinked like she hadn't registered the words, like her brain was still buffering. Mr. Alden sat down beside me, closed the binder with a soft thud, and said, "That went as expected. She thought the kids would be her trump card. The one thing I'd never win, the ultimate leverage. She was wrong. Her affair had blown up at work. Karen saw to that. Her lover suspended, under investigation, facing divorce of his own. Her social circle had thinned like smoke and wind. Friends stopped returning texts. Her own sister had called me, apologized, said, "We didn't know it was this bad." Then the call started. She called once, twice, changed her number, left voicemails. "I just want to talk," she said through quiet sobs. "Please, I miss my kids." I didn't answer. 1 month later, I dropped the kids off for her first court-ordered supervised visit. A sterile little building with neutral colors and glass doors. My son held my hand. My daughter hugged my leg. Christina sat in the corner waiting. She didn't look like herself. Pale, hollow, that glow she used to walk around with, gone. Her eyes looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping. No makeup, hair thrown up, no smirk, just emptiness. I knelt to zip my son's coat, and that's when I heard her whisper behind me. I made a mistake. I looked up, stood, held her gaze. "No," I said. "You made a choice." She blinked. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something else, but nothing came. "This is the consequence." I turned and walked out with the sun hitting my face like I hadn't seen it in months. Rock bottom isn't a place, it's a mirror. And Christina was finally forced to look into it. No makeup, no applause, no lies left to hide behind, just the truth. And it was ugly. Her lover was gone the moment Karen's lawyers filed for divorce. I got a text from Karen. He folded, signed everything. She got half. The man who helped Torty. A marriage turned to ashes the second his own started burning. He tried crawling back to Karen. It didn't work. A week later, he ghosted Christina completely. She called him 5 times in one day. I know because one of those messages accidentally went to me, meant for him, I assume. All it said was, "Please, don't do this to me too." Then she was blocked. HR let her go quietly. Departmental restructuring, they claimed. But the whispers moved faster than policy ever could. Word had already made its rounds. The affair, the public confrontation, Karen slapping divorce papers onto Christina's desk while the whole office watched. Her coworkers didn't look her in the eye after that. Some even avoided the break room. She had been that woman, the polished one. Blazers tailored to the inch, nails always done, steps confident, posture perfect. Now she was the office punchline, a walking cautionary tale. Then one day I got the letter handwritten for pages. The envelope smelled faintly of her old perfume. I almost laughed for pages of apologies, excuses, and a few shaky attempts at reflection. She said she missed the kids, said she missed me, claimed she was lost and confused, and made a terrible mistake. She ended it with, "You always saw the best in me. Maybe you still can." I folded the letter slowly, slipped it into a new envelope. No return address, just her name. Inside, I placed a single note. "I did see the best in you. You just made sure I never see it again." That was the last letter I ever read from her. A month later, I stood in court again. The judge didn't hesitate. Full custody awarded to me. Christina was granted supervised visits twice a month, pending completion of parenting classes and counseling. She missed the first 2 sessions. The court took notice. Then came her next move, trying to stall the divorce ruling. Her new lawyer requested mediation. I agreed, not because I believed she deserved another conversation, but because I wanted her to think she had a chance. Let her believe she could claw something back. Leverage, pity, maybe even redemption. So we sat at the table. Mr. Alden beside me, as calm and unreadable as ever. Christina walked in late. Her hair was done again, her makeup heavy enough to cover the cracks. But I saw them. So did Alden. She looked at me, eyes flickering with something like hope, as if maybe, just maybe, I'd say we can work something out. I didn't speak, not for 20 minutes. I just let Mr. Alden do all the talking. Finally, I leaned forward and placed the folder on the mediation table. It landed with a soft thud, but it may as well have been a gavel striking down. Her lawyer raised an eyebrow. Christina just stared. I flipped it open 1 page at a time. Proof of the affair, photos, hotel check-ins, texts, proof of her financial lies, withdrawals from our joint account, unauthorized charges, hidden credit cards, proof of her neglect, missed parent-teacher conferences, text threads with babysitters begging her to come home, timestamps of her coming in at 2 a.m. while our daughter cried herself to sleep. And then I slid over one more document. "That's her signature," Mr. Alden said flatly, tapping the paper. "Voluntarily relinquishing claim to the marital home dated 4 months ago, notarized." She blinked fast, her face pale. "I never signed that." "Oh, yes you did," I said with a smile. She looked at her lawyer, confused. He looked anywhere but at her. I sat back in my chair. "Here's the deal," I said, voice calm. "You walk away with the car, your personal items, and your name." She stared at me. "That's it?" I nodded once. "That's it." A long silence, then a whisper, thick with disbelief. "This isn't fair." I let out a slow breath, then gave a small smile. Not cruel, just tired. Neither was betrayal. She looked down at the folder. Her hand shook slightly. I could see the weight of it settling on her shoulders. The proof, the consequences, the finality. She signed, and just like that, it was over. I kept the house. I got the kids. I rebuilt my finances. And more importantly, I rebuilt my life. One quiet, peaceful day at a time. The kind of peace I didn't realize I'd been missing until I had it back. Christina. She moved into a small apartment across town. Took a part-time job answering phones. I heard through the grapevine she sometimes asked mutuals how I was doing. I didn't care to answer. Every now and then, she still tries to send emails, half apologies, half pleas. sometimes just memories she's trying to romanticize. I don't block them, but I don't reply either because the best revenge isn't rage, it's moving on so completely. They realize they never had the power they thought they did. She thought she could play the system, thought she could destroy me and walk away unscathed. But in the end, the only thing she destroyed was herself. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.